So this afternoon we will be talking about the view of the other empty school. And so generally when we talk about the other empty school, this is a view that some scholars have called the view that bridges the sutras and the tantras. In terms of bridging the views in the sutras, there is the view of the sutras, and there is the view in the secret mantra Vajrayana, and this is like the view that bridges these two. So, of course, we do have the four different classes of Tantra, but when we practice, what is it that we practice? We primarily practice the instructions on Mahamudra and Dzogchen. So, we do the completion stage practice of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. And so the view that fits with this is this view that bridges the sutras and the tantras. And so that is what we will talk about this afternoon. But again, yesterday we also had another wonderful question, and this was the question about the difference between the great vehicle and the foundation vehicle. And so, what is it that makes someone go down the foundation vehicle path? What is it that makes someone go down the Mahayana vehicle path? And this is a really wonderful question. The reason that this was such a wonderful question is that generally when we're talking about these philosophical schools and we're talking about coming to understand, so generally whether we are coming to understand and internalize the view of the sutras through listening and reflection, or whether we are doing the secret mantra Vajrayana practice, what we're in terms of the two different vehicles, the foundation vehicle and the great vehicle, we're doing this is the great vehicle. And what is the reason for that? The reason for that is our motivation. We need to have a vast motivation. And that vast motivation is this motivation of bodhicitta. Now, when we say bodhicitta, this is not something that comes up a whole lot in these teachings on the philosophical schools. There is not really any direct mention of the motivation or the interest in do this. It doesn't really come up. But it is still important for you to develop that truly pure motivation. And so I thought for that reason that the subject of bodhicitta is really extremely important. And so I thought that I would like to start by talking a bit about bodhicitta. Now, generally, when we talk about the motivation for the foundation vehicle, the motivation is primarily to free oneself from the suffering of samsara and to attain liberation. That is the primary motivation. Now, is this a bad motivation? It is not a bad motivation. It's a wonderful motivation. We need to free ourselves from samsara. It's important to do so. When we talk about the listeners, the people who practice the foundation vehicle, do they really only work for their own to relieve their own suffering? They don't really. Actually, they teach these. They live their life. They teach students. They take care of students. They teach students how to practice and get them to practice and help these other students. But when they give their Dharma talks, they basically, in their Dharma talks, they say you need to free yourself from samsara. They primarily say this, but they do not say, oh, you need to develop the ability to free all other sentient beings from samsara as well. They primarily say you need to free yourself from samsara. And so for this reason, we don't say that this is a vast sort of motivation. This is why we say that this is a limited motivation. And so what is it that is lacking here? Well, what is lacking here is the compassion. There isn't quite enough compassion there. And there also isn't quite enough of the full knowing, the intelligence that goes with that. And so because of that, the motivation is somewhat limited. They don't really talk. Now, of course, we ourselves have not yet attained the state of Buddhahood, and so we are not able to perform the vast level vast amount of help to sentient beings, but it is still important for us to have the motivation of bodhicitta, the vast motivation of bodhicitta. And so in comparison to that attitude of bodhicitta, the motivation of the foundation vehicle is a bit limited. It's like when you have a family and everyone's living together in a family. And if you prepare the food and then one person sits down and eats all by themselves, then, it's not so nice, it's not so pleasant for the whole family unit. And so it's the same way with all sentient beings. All sentient beings want to be happy. All sentient beings want to be free from suffering. And so because all sentient beings want to be happy and free from suffering, if we just say, okay, hey, I'm going to work for me, I'm going to free myself about it, it's not quite okay. It's like a little bit shameful. It's a bit, not the greatest of motivations. And so for that reason, we need to have the view that all sentient beings need to be brought to suffering. We have to realize that in the Mahayana, we're working to bring all sentient beings together so that they may all have happiness and so that they all may be free of suffering. And so we are working at methods to bring this about. Now, when we say bodhicitta, what is the main thing that we mean when we say bodhicitta? Well, bodhicitta actually has two characteristics, and the characteristics is that bodhicitta is for the benefit of others, bodhicitta is to bring benefit to others, to wish for perfect enlightenment, or to aim for perfect enlightenment. And so here, when we talk about bodhicitta, it has to have these two characteristics. Bodhicitta is for the benefit of others, to wish for perfect enlightenment. And so this has the two characteristics. And the first of these characteristics is compassion. And so if we have that, then of course we have to have compassion. Of course, all sentient beings have compassion, but it's a compassion for all sentient beings. But what type of compassion do we need to have? We need to have the unbiased compassion. If there is compassion, then of course, if there is a bias there, then of course it is still compassion. And all sentient beings actually do have compassion within them, because all sentient beings do have Buddha nature. But that compassion is often obscured by veils and obscurations. And so there comes to be a bias. For example, some people have compassion for humans, but not compassion for animals, or it might be the other way around. Some people might have compassion for animals, but only for those fuzzy ones that live on the land and not for those scaly ones that live in the water. Or you might only have compassion for the scaly ones that live on the water and not for the fuzzy ones that live on the land, or even the creepy crawly ones that live on the land. And so there are different sorts of compassion that we might have. Or some people might have compassion for, like among humans, you might have compassion for your countrymen, the people in your country, but you don't have compassion for all those people in those foreign lands. So there's others. And so there's a bias that comes about in our compassion. And so because of that, even though there's compassion, there often comes to be a sort of malice or hatred or evil thoughts, or there is pride or jealousy that comes up. And so we don't need that. We need to have the unbiased compassion. So all sentient beings, we need to, for the benefit of all sentient beings. So all sentient beings are the same. All sentient beings we need to bring happiness to all sentient beings and free them all from suffering. They all want to be happy and free of suffering. And so they all want it together. And so if we only have, so we need to have that compassion that is unbiased. But is compassion alone enough? It is not. We also need to have the intelligence, or the prajna. In the words of my perfect teacher by Patrul Rinpoche, it says that when we meditate upon the four immeasurables, the first of the immeasurables that we meditate upon is immeasurable equanimity. The equanimity towards all sentient beings. And so for all sentient beings, we don't try to increase or develop our compassion or our love, but we also don't let ourselves stray into hatred or malice. Instead, we just have a sort of neutral and even equanimous feelings for all sentient beings. And then when we develop that unbiased feelings, so we gradually train in not feeling like we have compassion for one side and malice or other for another. Rather, we train in having an equanimous feeling for others. And as that develops, when that is developed, then we will be able to have a compassion that is truly unbiased, and a compassion that is vast. This will be a peaceful sort of compassion. It won't be that combative sort of a compassion with a combative sort of nature. And so this is the compassion for all sentient beings, and so this is the aspect of the characteristics, is that it is to bring a benefit to all sentient beings. So that is the first aspect of these characteristics, that it bring benefit to all sentient beings. And the second aspect is the aspect of aiming towards complete enlightenment. So the second aspect is the intelligence, or the wisdom, the full knowing aspect of aiming towards complete enlightenment for all sentient beings. And so when we have compassion, we might be able to help sentient beings in various ways. We can give them food, we can give them clothing, we can give them wealth, we can give them medicine. We can do all of this, and this does benefit sentient beings. Now, is that good? Oh, yes, of course it's good. It's helpful to them, but there's an end to it. It will run out at some point. And it also only helps a few sentient beings. It does not. It doesn't permeate all sentient beings. And so we need to have a kind heart that pervades everything. And so this is the wish that until such time as a sentient being is emptied, until such time as all sentient beings are freed from samsara, we will try to attain this ultimate result of omniscience. And so now, whether we are able to, at this point, actualize and accomplish that state of omniscience, or whether we are not actually able to accomplish that, we have to have that motivation. And if we have that vast motivation, then we will gradually be able to bring sentient beings the vast benefit. And so this is the really wonderful motivation, the superior motivation of bodhicitta, which we need. And so this bodhicitta can really produce tremendous, vast results. So, like for example, with the Buddha appeared in India, and when he appeared, he taught the Dharma spread throughout India. There were many people who practiced the Dharma, who accomplished the Dharma. There are many people who, through their practice of the Dharma, were able to engage in great activity. They were able to attain the ultimate results of their Dharma practice. Not only that, because of their Dharma practice, they were able to tame their minds, subdue the afflictions. And so, and they were able to practice generosity, practice discipline, practice patience and diligence, and the others. And then later, the Dharma likewise also spread into Tibet. And then it also spread to many different parts of the world. And this happened over the course of 2,500 years. It's been 2,500 years since this happened. Not only has it spread and stayed extant for 2,500 years, now in many parts of the world, especially in America, the Dharma is spreading. And it's spreading in such a way that in the future it's just going to keep getting stronger and stronger. And so whose activity did this come about from? This came from the activity of one Buddha. So the one Buddha taught the Dharma. If there had not been one Buddha teaching the Dharma, none of this would have come about. None of this activity would have been able to happen. It would not have been able to happen. But because the Buddha appeared in the world, and the Buddha taught the Dharma, then look at how the activity has spread throughout the world. And so this is, but this all came about because of what the Buddha talked about in a sutra. The Buddha said, when I was a poor Brahmin, I offered a bowl of soup to the Buddha, and through that I developed the mind of bodhicitta. And so, this is the first time that the Buddha developed bodhicitta. When he first developed bodhicitta, he had been born as a poor Brahmin many eons ago. He was this very poor Brahmin, and at that time there was also another Buddha. And that Buddha, back in those many eons ago, was also named the Buddha Shakyamuni. And so the poor Brahmin met this Shakyamuni and felt great faith for him and wanted to do something, wanted to make an offering for him. But he was so poor that he didn't have anything to offer except for a bowl of soup. And so he offered this bowl, he poured it into the Buddha's alms bowl, and the Buddha accepted the offering and ate it and was delighted. And this Brahmin was so overcome with faith that he said that he developed the mind of bodhicitta, and he made an aspiration at that point. The aspiration that he made at that time is just as your body, with a name just like yours, a body, a lifespan, with activity just as yours, so too may I be just like you are. And so he made the aspiration that just as you, this Buddha Shakyamuni, to the same size body that you have, the same lifespan that you have, the same retinue of people, the same sort of activity, so too will I awaken to Buddhahood. And so this all came out of offering one bowl of soup and on generating bodhicitta. This is the benefit of it. So this all came about because of that one thing. And so what was that first virtue? That virtue was offering one bowl of soup. And because of that, the Dharma has been able to spread throughout the entire world. And so sometimes we might wonder whether bodhicitta has power or if it doesn't have power. But we can see that actually it can have that much power. So when we're sitting here and we think to ourselves, oh, we have to develop bodhicitta, and we might wonder, well, is this really bodhicitta? Is this really doing anything? Does this do any good at all? Am I doing really anything at all? Well, you just have to remember this and realize that in the future, this will have vast results. And so whether we are doing our practice, or whether we are doing study, or whether we are just going about our normal affairs in our daily lives, if we can have this motivation of bodhicitta, if we can have this kind mind, then it really has an inconceivable benefit. And so for that reason, in particular when we are studying, and in particular when we are practicing, we must have a good motivation. Now, if this motivation just naturally and spontaneously happens, that is wonderful. And if it doesn't, then you should sort of fake it and make it happen. And just meditate upon it over and over again. It's important to do this. And so, in particular now, it really asks you to please develop this Mahayana motivation, that in the future you be able to engage in the vast activity to help limitless numbers of sentient beings who are as limitless as space. And so now we have come to the main part of our teaching today. And here, as it says at the beginning of the last paragraph on page 5, it reads here, you might ask whether the essence of that inconceivable Dharma nature is something or nothing. So this is something that I've talked about before. When we think about the Dharma nature, the Buddha nature, the nature of mind, all of these things, is it something or is it nothing? It's possible that we might have that sort of doubt. And so here Khenpo Gangshar gives the answer, and the answer is basically what I've said before. It is not completely non-existent emptiness, mere nothingness, like space or the child of a barren woman. So it's not nothingness, it's not nothingness, it's not like just blank empty space, it's not like the child of a childless woman who doesn't have a child. So can't exist. So it's not like that. It's not just blank emptiness. And then it continues. well then, so you might wonder then, if it's not nothing, is it something, is it permanent? Nor is it permanence that is not empty, truly existent, such as the self of the non-Buddhist. And so, is it something truly existent like the self of the non-Buddhist? It is not like that either. When we look for it, we can't find it. It is also emptiness. And so, this is this is as it says in a sutra. As a sutra says, there is no mind in mind. And so first we have a mind. And in the mind instructions, when we look at the mind, as it explains in Khenpo Gangshar's mind instructions, we first have to decide what is most important, our body, our speech, or our mind. And when we look at these, we see that the most important one is the mind. Well, then if we look for that mind, well, where is the mind? Where can we find it? When we look at the essence of the mind, we cannot find the mind. There is no mind in mind, so we cannot find it in any way. So is it just that we don't know how to look for it? It is not there. Rather, it's because the essence of the mind is emptiness. It is naturally cannot be established. It is empty. So there is no mind in mind. But the nature of mind is luminous. And so the mind may be nothing. It may be emptiness. But at the same time, is it inanimate emptiness? Is it nothingness and blankness? It is not. It is not just nothing at nothingness at all. It also has the luminous nature. The nature of mind is luminous. That means it has the aspect of clear wisdom, and it is able to know. And so this is as is said in the sutras. And so what it says in the sutra is that the mind is not something, it's not nothing. So it doesn't fall to the extreme of being something. It doesn't fall to the extreme of nothing. It does not fall into the eternalist extreme. It does not fall into the nihilist extreme. It is free of all extremes such as something, nothing, eternal, or nihilist. It is the wisdom and expanse indivisible. And so here it is the wisdom and the expanse indivisible. And so generally we talk about all things, all phenomenal things, as being unborn from the very beginning. Emptiness. That emptiness is the expanse. This expanse, this emptiness of all phenomena, is as vast as space. Just as there are no limits to space, as it is vast, so does this expanse, the empty expanse of the Dharma expanse. It is similarly vast. And so the nature, the way the Dharma nature is, this expanse is vast, it permeates everything. And so this is the unborn emptiness, the non-arising emptiness. That is the empty essence. So now, but when we think about the essence of space, that emptiness of space, what is it like? It is inanimate, it is material, there is no clarity to it in any way. But when we talk about the essence of the way the Dharma expanse is, it is expanse and wisdom, and these two are indivisible. So there is the expanse, but is permeated and pervaded by the wisdom. This is the clear aspect of the mind. And so we often think when we look at the mind, is there some sort of a thing that is a solid thing that we can find? We can't find it. From the very beginning, it has been unborn, non-arising. It is emptiness. But is it nothing at all? It is not. It has the clarity. It can know everything. It can see everything. It can understand anything. It is always clear. It is this union of the clarity and of the emptiness. The clarity and the emptiness are indivisible. So it's not like you can say, okay, this is the clarity and this is the emptiness and they're together. It's not like that. There's no way that you can divide the clarity and the emptiness. There's no way you can separate or divide them in any way. It is inherently empty by essence and clear by nature. And so the clarity and the essence are together. The essence of the clarity is empty. The essence of the emptiness is clear. And so this is what we find if we establish it and prove it through logic and reasoning and inference. And when we experience it through our meditation then and look at the nature of the mind, then we see that there is the clarity and there is the emptiness, but these two are indivisible. It's not like there's some something we can identify as the mind. So sometimes when we meditate, we more emphasize the clarity aspect. Sometimes we more emphasize more primarily the empty aspect of the mind. But the essence of the clarity is empty. The essence of the empty is clear. There is no way you could divide them in any way. So it is inherently empty by essence and clear by nature. And so, as it is said here, Maitreya explained the way to rest in equipoise within the nature of that Dharma nature, as is the way that Maitreya explained the way to rest. Sorry, I need to edit the sentence, I think. Maitreya explained the way to rest in equipoise within the Dharma nature as follows. And so, what Maitreya, this is a line that verse that Maitreya said in both the Ornament of Clear Realization and in the Supreme Continuum, and it reads, "In this there's nothing to dispel, nor anything at all to add. By viewing rightness rightly and by seeing rightly, liberation." And so, when we look at the nature of the mind, or we talk about the Dharma nature, the union of clarity and emptiness, is there something that we need to get rid of? There's nothing that we need to get rid of. Is there something new that we need to add to it in any way? There's nothing new that we need to add to it. There's nothing at all that we need to add to it in any way. We just need to rest in, we just need to, the nature of, the way it is, the nature of how it is right. It is perfect. So by viewing rightness rightly and by seeing rightly, liberation. So if we just know the nature as it is without altering it, then we are liberated. And so this is what Maitreya wrote in the Ornament of Clear Realization and in the Supreme Continuum. But this is also actually the same as what it says in the short Vajradhara lineage prayer in the third verse, where it says, "As ones who whatever arises rest simply, not altering in just that fresh essence of thought." So as ones who whatever arises rest simply, not altering in just that fresh essence of thought. So just that fresh essence of thought, just as it is. We don't need to change it. We don't need to alter it. We just rest right within it, just right in there. We relax, loosen and relax directly into that. The essence of thoughts, it's not something that we need to do. The nature of the mind, it's not something. We just rest without altering it right in that. And so please bless us with meditation that's free of conception. And so this is really the same meaning as the quote from Maitreya. So the first of these is presenting the view and as established through inference and reasoning. And the second presents it in terms of the meditation experience. But they are the same meaning. And so, as it says, continues, "The reason to rest in equipoise within the right limit of non-fixation, free of all dispelling, adding, refuting, and established, unsullied by mental fabricated stains, appears briefly in text of the Paramita vehicle, such as Paramita Sutras, as well as in the Supreme Continuum in a way that is compatible with the vehicle of profound mantra." And so this is not something where, okay, my mind is something that I need to make into something good, nor is it something that like it's bad now and I've got to do something to it. It's just the nature as it is. We just let it be as it is, relax into it as it is, and rest in that. And if we do that, we will be able to realize the nature. So when we do the meditation, what is it that we need to, how is it that we need to do the meditation? Well, we need to do the meditation in a way that is compatible with with the vehicle of profound mantra. And so we need to be able to practice in a way that is compatible with the secret mantra Vajrayana and the instructions on Mahamudra and Dzogchen. And so this also comes from the sutra, the text of the Paramita vehicle, the sutra vehicle, such as the Prajnaparamita Sutras, as well as in the Supreme Continuum. So it does appear in those texts as well. And so not only, and so here, we need to establish this view. We need to understand it. It is important for us to study it and listen and contemplate and study it. And we need to develop and if we do so, then when we do meditation, there will be that clarity there. There will be the certainty of the meditation. And this is a really important point. We need to have this understanding in order to have the clarity and belief in our meditation. And so then Khenpo Gangshar gives a bit of advice here. And this advice reads, until one's intelligence reaches the profound intent of the Dharma nature of equality. And so until such time as our own whether this means the certainty that comes out of inference, or whether it means the actual direct experience that comes from meditation. Until we have that real certainty, that sort of intelligence, we need to train in this way. One should follow the glorious Guru, pleasing them in 3 ways: through gathering merit, in several ways, through gathering merit, purifying obscurations, and so forth. And so we need to gather the accumulations of merit. So how is it that we do this? We do this primarily through the practice of the 6 transcendences. We gather the accumulations of merit. And so among these, what is our own particular special way of doing that? Well, if we want to gather the accumulation of merit, we do we make mandala offerings, and we also do the chut practice of offering our body. And so whether we're actually able to give something now, or whether we can just imagine it now, we're not able, then when we make offerings of mandala offerings, for example, we imagine offering the entire universe, and we gather vast amounts of merit through that. Or we do the practice of chut. By giving the chut practice, we give away that which is most important to us. We visualize giving away our body. We think that we're giving it away to everyone. And through that way, we gather vast amounts of merit. We also should purify obscurations. So for purifying obscurations, the obscurations here, generally we talk about misdeeds and obscurations, but primarily we're talking about obscurations. And among these, they are primarily the coarse thoughts in our mind. When we have strong afflictions, coarse thoughts. And generally the way we need to deal with these is through having mindfulness and awareness and meditating upon emptiness. But doing that is a way to eradicate them entirely. But it's nice to have a little method to do this, to sort of make them a little bit smaller until such time as we're actually able to do that. And that method is the meditation on Vajrasattva. So we visualize Vajrasattva above the crown of our heads. We visualize that nectar flows from it and into our bodies and purifies us of all our misdeeds and obscuration. And then this way we rely on the 4 powers of the antidote that are described in the Way of the Bodhisattva and in other texts. So when we are accumulating merit in this way, there is the referential accumulation of merit, and there is the non-referential accumulation of wisdom. The non-referential accumulation of wisdom, and here wisdom is the Tibetan word yeshe or yeshe, or in Sanskrit jnana. So this accumulation, non-referential accumulation of wisdom comes through doing shamatha meditation, insight meditation, realizing the nature of the mind, resting in equipoise within the Dharma nature, resting in equipoise within the nature of the mind. These are the non-referential accumulation of wisdom. The referential accumulation of merit is when we make the offerings and give and practice generosity and so forth. And so we do these, and we train in these relatively in the secret points of the path. It is important to train, and here the translation is a little wrong. It says in all ways. It really should be in accord with your own experience. You train in the secret points of the path. It is important to train in accord with your own experience until you attain mastery in the meaning of the Dharma nature. So we need to do this in accord with our own experience. And so, of course, the best thing is if we were all superior practitioners, we were all able to go up into isolated mountain retreats and live like Milarepa, eating nothing but nettles. But we can't all do that right away. We have to do this training in accord with our experience, our diligence, our study. We need to do the study. We need to do that in accord with what we're able to do. We need to when we gather merit, we need to do that in accord with what we can do. When we purify ourselves of misdeeds and obscurations, we need to do that in accord with what we're able to do. When we meditate on samadhi, we need to do that in accord with our own abilities. And when we study, we need to do it in accord with our own abilities. And so if we do that, then we need to train in this way until we can really realize the nature, the meaning of the Dharma nature. And if we do this, then this will be helpful helpful for us in realizing the Dharma nature and the nature of the mind. And so we need to train in this in all different ways, or as much as we can. And so in this way we can practice according to this particular, our own, the particular view of our own tradition, if we can, that combines this with this view with the secret mantra Vajrayana. And it's really wonderful to be able to practice like that. It's an easy way to practice. It's a way we can handle. And so this is a description of how to practice that really fits with our own particular tradition. It fits with the practice of Mahamudra. It fits with the practice of Dzogchen. And so to study like this and to practice like this is really beneficial. So that's enough for this afternoon. And we have a time for a few questions, maybe 3 or 4. Maybe if they're short questions, I don't know.
Rinpoche, is devotion also an expression or aspect of bodhicitta as well as compassion? And it seems that, to me, that just as compassion would be the mind's natural reaction to samsara or suffering, that devotion would be the mind's natural reaction to nirvana or enlightenment, and that both would be connected in that way as part of bodhicitta.
Generally, when we talk about compassion, that is the aspect of bodhicitta that is focusing on the benefit for others. This is the vast benefit for others. And so devotion is included within bodhicitta, but it's primarily we talk about the intelligence or the full knowing aspect of it. So when we see the qualities of the state of Buddhahood, then we develop interest in it. We develop the devotion. And when we have devotion, sometimes we have more devotion in the Dharma. Sometimes we have more devotion for the Lama. Sometimes we have more devotion for the practice. We have that devotion. That devotion is an interest. It's that strong interest in there. And so like when we see the Lama, we see that from the Lama we can get the Dharma, and that this Dharma helps us. And because that Dharma has helped us, then we feel a devotion for that. And so it is in this way included within this aspect of the intelligence or the full knowing of it. But it's not directly, it's not explicitly mentioned in there. It's not explicitly labeled as an aspect of bodhicitta.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Rinpoche, in light of the third turning teachings that you've been giving today, that one's fundamental nature is the Buddha nature, and that this is fully manifest in us, would it be correct to say that the path, in light of that view, is experientially recognizing that and then stabilizing that recognition through our practice, through our actual ritual practice of meditation and mantra, and so forth?
That's it. That's right.
Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, I didn't finish yet. Sorry. That's it. That's right. The Buddha nature. It's recognizing the Buddha nature, and once you've recognized it, then stabilizing it, nurturing it, and stabilizing it, meditating on it, and practicing it, and then coming to attain the ultimate result. Whether you call it the Dharma nature or the Buddha nature, that's exactly what it is.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the teachings, Rinpoche. When talking about the nature of mind in terms of luminous emptiness, and the example given is space being empty, and the luminous quality or clarity is wisdom. When we look at cosmology, I'm told by the experts that 95% of the space or cosmos is dark matter or dark energy, and sentient beings are very late arriving on this planet and in this cosmos. So I'm wondering, where is the wisdom in space? Or where is that luminous quality? Or could a skeptic say that we made it up, that humans made up this wisdom quality? Or is it, as the teachings say, it's all pervasive, including in inanimate?
So now when we talk about the inanimate emptiness, the material emptiness, or the dark matter, the vastness, the material aspect of it, that is the way it appears. That is the confused way that it appears. That is confusion. So what is the nature of that confusion? The nature of that is, as I have said, as I said earlier, it's like the poor person who has the huge hunk of gold under the house. The nature is there. It's right there, but we aren't finding it. And so now it seems like there is the inanimate emptiness, but behind it, or inside, or behind it someplace, there the wisdom is present. And so when we meditate, we can extract that wisdom. We extract that wisdom by meditating.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Rinpoche, I feel very happy to see you looking so healthy and fresh. And it astonishes me that you can keep up your schedule and so much travel and still look that way. And I supplicate that you continue to do that as long as it's good for you. I had a question about bodhichitta. You said that in the future our practice will have vast results. And I'm wondering if our practice has any results in the present. Because often when I say the dedication of merit, it implies that maybe it does have a little bit of benefit even now. And I wonder what we ought to do if we're very impatient.
Well, it's like I mentioned the other day. The Buddha appeared in India, a place far away a long time ago, and now the Dharma is spreading in America, which is another place. And so as it is spreading here, all of you students here, you're practicing it, and you're doing this, and it's really difficult for that to happen, but it's happening, isn't it? And so isn't that the activity of the bodhicitta now? So all of you who, have faith in the Dharma, all of you who have devotion to the Dharma, you're diligent about it. There's the power of the Dharma and the activity of the Dharma, and because of that, the Dharma is spreading here. And so because of this, many people are doing a lot of practice, and so this is actually a really incredibly vast result, isn't it? So this is something that, every year it's getting better. From this month to next month, there are going to be more people meditating, and the year later, more and more people. And that's wonderful, isn't it? So when talking about this, we talk about the Buddhas, the body of the Buddha, the speech of the Buddha, the mind of the Buddha, and when are these going to happen? These are going to happen in the future. But the activity of that, when is that going to happen? It's already happening now.
Good afternoon, Rinpoche. in our Sangha, an email came through, I think, quoting you about how the mind's clarity aspect can obscure its emptiness aspect. And I wonder if you could say a few more words about that.
The reason for saying that is that sometimes people ask, well, you know, we have the nature of the mind. It's present within all sentient beings. All sentient beings have Buddha nature, but how is it that we get so confused? And the answer to that is that in the mind there's the clarity and there's the emptiness. There's the two of these, and the clarity has both positive. It has positive and negative aspects, and the negative aspects of it is that sometimes it's a little bit too clear. It's like first it's just merely then we have too many appearances, too many perceptions. First there's just mere clarity, and then there are all these perceptions. And then we get confused about those. And then through getting confused, we get fixated on them. We fixate on things as being true. We get confused by that, and then we have all the afflictions that happen. And so what is the fault, the negative thing that allows that to happen? It's that we don't recognize the emptiness. By not recognizing the emptiness, then it's just too clear, and there are too many appearances. We can't handle them. There are too many afflictions. And so what is it that we need to do? How do we need to practice? We need to recognize that it's the union of clarity and emptiness, and then sort of bring that clarity back. And so realize that, so bring it back and meditate upon the union of the clarity and emptiness. And through meditating upon that union of clarity and emptiness together, then we will be able to free ourselves from samsara.
Thank you, sir.